Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Today, we're going to make some very bold predictions, but these are big predictions for Chelsea's future. It's Roman Abramovich era versus whoever it's going to be taking over, the new owner era. We're going to take a little look at what has been like 5 key things that Chelsea have really been established on in the Roman Abramovich era. 5 things that may well be similar or may not be similar. And in today's video, I'm going to give my predictions as to what the future of Chelsea looks like, regardless of who that new owner is going to be. But from all we know so far, this is my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. As for the Roman Abramovich era, the 5 defining things is that we've remained at the home Stamford Bridge, 42,000 capacity. We've invested and developed very heavily in the academy to a point where I would say that the overall work that has happened at Chelsea since Abramovich took over is 10 out of 10. The way that Cobham, even though it's not been the quickest thing, it wasn't the first thing that we could take away from the Abramovich era. The first thing that we could really take away was the fact that Chelsea became very successful in winning trophies. But with the academy, it's been a slow burner. But that slow burner now, it's a bit like when you make a stew and your grandma has left the stew for 10 hours to marinate those flavours. That's exactly what we've done with the Chelsea academy. Now, year on year, there are new players breaking through. Point number 3 is money injections. Chelsea had a massive debt. Roman Abramovich, as an owner, was the kind of owner who, in order to wipe out the debts, would just inject cash out of his own pocket. Will we see the same again? The 4th point, in the process of success, Chelsea have had to sack managers on a very consistent basis. We've been through some of the best managers, many of the best managers in Europe during Roman Abramovich's reign. And I think the overall point number 5, is that the on-pitch success has actually been the number one focus of Chelsea Football Club. It isn't about putting us in this massive commercial bubble that the likes of the Glazers at Manchester United have done, where many people now see United as a club simply ran as a commercial entity, which is why since Sir Alex Ferguson, they've not even really been competing for the Premier League titles. So all in all, the Roman Abramovich's era is successful. For me to sit here and try and formulate anything other than that would be a real waste of energy, to be fair. So without any further ado, we are going to take a little look at the first key point, which is, under Abramovich, we have stayed at Stamford Bridge. Now here's my personal thoughts on this. This could be an entire video in itself. The fact that Chelsea remain at Stamford Bridge, to me, is fantastic. The whole ideology of Chelsea moving to a totally different stadium is something that I just cannot fathom. I am very much a romantic football fan. Stamford Bridge is Chelsea's home. It is the home of the club that I've grown up supporting. It's the place I've been to many, many times, that I kind of know everything there is to know, that I want to know at least, about the area. I do not want to see Chelsea move stadiums. However, when we look at a lot of the talks about new owners, what are going to be the parameters of the guarantees that will be needed, and investment in Stamford Bridge, whether this is a new stadium, could we keep the same name? There's a lot of different shareholders that would have to be involved in this in order for this to happen. But what I do think will happen, and what I think is important as well, as much as I've made it clear I don't want us to leave the bridge, redeveloping Stamford Bridge to go from a 42,000 seater stadium up to like 60,000, maybe plus, I think is very big and important for Chelsea's development. In terms of whoever takes over, we've got to hope as Chelsea fans that the near 20 years of Roman Abramovich, we can continue to be successful. We don't want to be chopping and changing owners every couple of years. So from a business side of things, Chelsea redeveloping Stamford Bridge, the initial finance behind this would cost a lot of bloody money, which could also jeopardise the way that we spend in other areas, but we'll get onto that in a moment. But overall, from a commercial standpoint, for Chelsea to be able to keep competing with incoming revenue, I do think Stamford Bridge does need to be a bit bigger. Would we sell it out? I don't think there's any issues with that. Chelsea very rarely have any tickets available for general sales as a member. I'm sure a lot of you guys are members too, but even though I don't buy tickets to every game now, when I was still going to every home game, every away game, it is almost a bit like a lottery at times. So if Chelsea were to have a 60,000 seater stadium, I've got no concerns that we would sell that out, even if we were somehow in the Europa League against some dodgy team from a place we don't really understand. Moving into point number 2. Chelsea's new owners, in my opinion, will look at the academy as a very, very fruitful proposition for themselves as a business, in the sense of the players that have broke through in recent years. We spoke a moment ago about how the Chelsea Academy has become such a fruitful place where Chelsea can look at not necessarily buying 7 or 8 players every window, but there's always going to be 1, 2 or 3 coming through from the academy that will feel like new signings. For any new owner who comes in, I think we've got to immediately expect that whoever it is who takes over isn't going to be splashing cash as willy-nilly as Roman Abramovich has. So with all the work that's gone into the academy, I strongly predict that whoever comes in will continue to invest heavily and to develop players who are coming through the academy and make that gap between Chelsea Academy, playing in the under-23s, 21s, whatever, under-18s, segueing into the first team. That will be a key, fundamental thing that any new owner coming into Chelsea, I would like to see it. It's brilliant to have the likes of Reece James, Mount, Chalobah, Abraham, Tomori, these guys who have broken through in the last few years, with the likes of Gallagher coming through soon, Levi Colwill. It's these kind of players that will help Chelsea to establish their identity. And I think Chelsea at the moment, one of my main concerns, and it isn't about like, will we buy loads of great players, will we still win the league? One of my main concerns about the new ownership is that the identity that I understand about Chelsea, I'm very, very proud of the identity we have as a club. Yes, there are fans from alternate clubs who will look back at moments in time where Chelsea fans might not have painted themselves in the best light, but I, for one, know that these are always used as scapegoats to put Chelsea down. I'm very happy with the identity of the club, and I think players coming through the academy who know what it is to be Chelsea are absolutely key for us to sustain and maintain this going forward. Point number 3. This is the one where what we're used to and the prediction that I'm going to make are actually very far apart. Obviously, you guys know I'm ever the optimist. However, the way that Roman Abramovich has ran Chelsea, when we make a loss, there's a cash injection. And in the end, Roman Abramovich was incredibly kind to say that the 1.5 billion of debt that Chelsea Football Club were in, that he bailed us out for, he doesn't want that money back. Do I think we can ever expect to get an owner who can operate in this manner in Chelsea's favour again? It's highly unlikely. Roman Abramovich was kind of the mould breaker for this kind of ownership, from someone rich from outside coming in, taking over the club. Chelsea were the ones who everybody hated because we were the first ones to really get this serious money in 2003. Now, virtually every club is being taken over from this guy, taken over from this consortium too. So it's less Chelsea are the main problem and the only problem, but Chelsea were the catalyst to this for clubs that still see this as an issue, for fans who also still see it as an issue. Moving forward, I predict that whoever takes over Chelsea is going to try to run the club in a more sustainable financial manner. What does this mean? Well, we've heard a lot of the reports from a couple of the new ownership consortiums that a lot of the transfer business that will be conducted based off of data analysis, which is basically a very similar model to that of Liverpool. Liverpool don't just go and splash massive money on massive names for the sake of spending on massive names, or like Chelsea have done in the past, where we've made signings for players where we've just thrown a load of cash out. One of the first ones that comes to my head is Alvaro Morata. That didn't work out. Was it ever really going to work out? Good question. It didn't. So I think whatever we do moving forward, there's a lot of talk at the moment too that two of the parties interested in Chelsea want to bring in Paul Mitchell, who is currently the head of development at Monaco. This guy would be very, very useful for Chelsea in terms of using data, using the analysis of player performances to actually bring in players who fit Thomas Tuchel's system and players who would actually be beneficial to the rest of the current personnel around them on the pitch. So, this is a good thing. It's also good because we might not ever be so lucky in the long-term future to have any owner who comes into any kind of issue who's then got to sell Chelsea be like, that debt, kind of want that back, guys. We might not have the luxury of having a Roman Abramovich who can just be like, I don't want it back. I don't think fans realise just how important this is. Moving into point number 4. This is a very interesting one indeed. Sacking managers has equaled success. What do I believe is going to happen now under the new ownership? I think Thomas Tuchel coming in, when he did for Frank Lampard, in hindsight, for this very moment right now where Chelsea need new owners, uncertainty around the club, there couldn't be a better person to be in charge of the team than Thomas Tuchel. Do I think that this is the biggest, best opportunity for Chelsea to ever have a manager who is staying for a long period of time to build this fantasy-esque kind of dynasty that I've spoken about a lot? I've told you guys before. Sir Alex Ferguson at United, it is one of the only things I'm jealous of when it comes to looking at Manchester United. The fact they had somebody who the whole club loved, the fans loved, players loved, apart from a couple of them at times. That is something I've always wanted at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel, being in charge right now, creates the best opportunity for this to happen. Not only is this a personal dream of mine as a Chelsea fan to have a manager we love stay, but it's also what we're currently seeing from the two best teams in the Premier League, Liverpool and City. Klopp and Guardiola, they've been there now for a longer period of time than any Chelsea manager has been at Chelsea since Abramovich took over. So with that being said, we can see that allowing a manager time to imprint a style, to build upon the identity of the club, but within his own managerial style, Klopp is doing an amazing job at Liverpool, Guardiola's doing an amazing job at City, and I think this is the kind of mould that the new owners at Chelsea will be looking at. I really hope that whoever comes in, there is good communication between them, everybody else beneath them who is operating with Tuchel on a day-to-day basis, and I hope that whoever comes in can talk to Tuchel and make Tuchel trust in whatever vision they have for the club, because with that, I think we could have Tuchel at Chelsea for a very long time, which I don't know about you, but it excites me massively. Before I go on to point number 5, make sure you're subscribed to GBFC, and if you are enjoying this video, hit the like button and let me know your thoughts on my predictions with yours in the comments. The final point is that Chelsea have been incredibly successful. On the pitch success has been the fundamental reason why the Abramovich era will always go down in Chelsea's history as probably the greatest era ever in the history of our football club. We have won so much, and this is unfortunately the only thing that is incredibly hard to predict. We don't know if the levels of unprecedented success that it feels like we've experienced under Abramovich, whoever it is who takes over, there's no guarantees. At the moment, my biggest concern is that the Ricketts are gone. Great, not concerned about that. That's wonderful. And everybody else involved has all said the right things. But as we know in football, we've seen this before, not necessarily with Chelsea, but with other clubs too. People try and sell you the world. But when it comes to actually actioning those things, there are very rarely variables that don't come in and change this up a little bit, that make it difficult. So I'm optimistic that whoever comes in is going to continue to develop Chelsea. I think we are that massive of a club now that it would be absolutely catastrophic for anybody to come in and not care about the success of the team on the pitch. Thomas Tuchel's in charge. The current squad of players we've got are fantastic. Some of the young players coming through the academy, also fantastic. And I do have one more prediction to make that doesn't make it onto the graphic, but I do think this summer we could be in for an exciting summer. I think that the first window, it would be a great idea for whoever's the new owner to really splash a bit of cash in the first summer, just to really get fans on side. Will that sustain? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys for watching this video. It's been a fun one. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know your predictions for the future of our club in the comments down below. It's a big video, this one. Thank you for watching. Come on, you Blues.